Hello student, myself Digant Sakhiwala, I am your science sir. Today we will continue how do organisms reproduce. Dear student, last time we learned about the DNA variation. Today we will learn that a different organism reproduce mainly by two methods, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. In this topic we are going to learn about the fission, regeneration, second thing budding, spore formation. So we will start one by one. Type of reproduction, asexual reproduction, and second is the sexual reproduction. First is the asexual reproduction. In this mode of the reproduction, only a single parent is involved. Okay, so we can see that asexual reproduction, in that only single parent is involved, and after that from that daughter cells are produced. The offspring produced are genetically identical to each other as well as to parent and are called the clones. So here whatever the offsprings are produced, they are genetically identical. Their genetic sequence are same as their other offspring as well as their parents and are clones. They are similar to each other. Fission. For unicellular organisms, cell division or fission leads to the creation of new individual. Okay, so in the case of the fission, the unicellular organism is divided into the different other cell division occur or fission occur, leads to the creation of the other individual. Many different patterns of the fission have been observed. It is not compulsory that from the one cell two cells are obtained or fission occur. It may possible that from the one cell different daughter cells are obtained. So multiple fission is also possible. Many bacteria and protozoa simply split into two equal halves during the cell division. Example, amoeba splitting into the two cells during the cell division. So in the case of amoeba, what happened? How their reproduction occur? One amoeba is divided into the two equal half. Okay, so it is called the binary fission. Example, amoeba splitting into two cells during the division. Some unicellular organisms show the somewhat more organization of their bodies. Example, Lasagna, Kalazar, which have the whip-like structure at one end of the cell. Okay, so some are there, they have the different type of reproduction. Like we can say that Lasagna, Kalazar, which have the whip-like structure at one end of the cell. In such organisms, binary fission occur in the definite orientation to this structure. So in this type of case, binary fission occur and new cells are produced. Other single cell organisms such as malarial parasite, Plasmodium divide into many daughter cells simultaneously by multiple fission. So in the amoeba case, what happened? Binary fission occur. From the one cell two daughter cells are obtained. But in the case of Plasmodium, which is responsible for the malaria, okay, from the one cell Plasmodium divide into the many daughter cells simultaneously by the multiple fission. Okay. Yeast on other hand can put out small buds that separate and grow further. In the case of the yeast, they produce buds, and by that budding, okay, by that buds, we can find the other yeast and grow further. Fragmentation. In multicellular with the relatively a simple body organization, simple reproductive method can still work. So in the fragmentation, the particular organism, that cell body is divided into many parts, fragment. Okay, many fragments are produced, and from that the reproduction occur. Spirogyra, for example, simply break up into the smaller pieces upon the maturation. So here cell is not divided, but different fragments are divided. Okay, example is Spirogyra, for example, simply break up into the smaller pieces upon the maturation. These pieces or fragments grow into new individual. This is not a true or all multicellular organism. Okay, so by these pieces are there or fragments are there, they grow into the new individuals. This is not true for all the multicellular organism. In all the multicellular organism, fragmentation not occur. They cannot simply divide cell by cell. The reason is that many multicellular organisms are not simply a random collection of the cell. So generally in the case of fission, what happen? From the one cell two cell are obtained, but here this type of fission is not possible. Okay, here what happen? Here the whatever fragments are obtained, from that the new individuals are obtained. Specialized cells are organized as tissue, and tissue are organized into the organs, which then have to be placed at definite position in the body. Okay, so generally what happen, when some cells are combined, then they make the tissue combines, then they make the organ, and the organ has a different function. Okay, in such a carefully organized situation, cell by cell division would be impractical. So in the fragmentation, on the cell level division not occur, fragments are obtained, and the fragments, and then from the fragment new individuals are obtained. Multicellular organisms need to use more complex way of reproduction. Reproduction in such an organism is also the function of the specific cell type. So multicellular organisms need to use a more complex way of reproduction. So they have the different way for the reproduction, and reproduction in such organism is also the function of specific cell type. Different type of cell are present for the reproduction. There must be a single cell in the organism that is capable of growing. Okay, so they have the single cell type of organism that is capable of growing, proliferating, and making other cell types under the right circumstances. So cell division occur and making other cell type under the right circumstances. So in particular condition, the proliferating and making other cell type under the right circumstances take place. Budding. Organisms such as Hydra use the regenerative cell for reproduction in the process of budding. So budding, in that one organism is developed like Hydra, on that one part is developed, that part is again grow. Okay, so that is included in the budding. In Hydra, a bud develops as an outgrowth due to the repeated cell division at the specific site. So in the Hydra, we can see that one bud is produced on the Hydra, okay, and that bud is produced because of what? Cell division on the specific site. These bud develop into the tiny individual, and when fully mature, detach from the parent body and become a new independent individual. So what happens? This bud develop into the tiny individual, and when fully mature, when they mature, then when they are detached from the parent body, and after that, and become a new independent individuals. Okay. So dear student, here in this topic we learn about the asexual reproduction. In that we learn about the fission, we learn about the fragmentation, and we learn about the budding. Dear student, we will learn about the regeneration. Regeneration, in that the different part of the organism, from that the new individuals are obtained, that is called the regeneration. Okay. Regeneration. Many fully differentiated organisms have the ability to give rise to new individual organisms from their body parts. Okay. So from the one organism, from their different body parts, new individuals are obtained, that is called the regeneration. If the individual is somehow cut or broken up into the many pieces, many of these pieces grow into the separate individual. So if it is cut down or it is broke up into the simple many pieces, then from these pieces the different type of individuals are obtained. Hydra and planaria can be cut into number of pieces, and each piece grows into complete organism. So best example we have, that is Hydra, and other is planaria, can be cut into any number of pieces, and each pieces grow as what? A new individuals. This is known as regeneration. Regeneration is carried out by the specialized cell. So for that the specialized cell is present in the regeneration. This cell proliferate and make the large number of cell. So proliferation occur and make the large number of cell. From this mass of the cell, different cell undergo the changes to become a various cell type and tissue, and from this cell, different cell undergo the changes to become a various cell type and tissues. These changes take place in an organized sequence referred to as a development. So it will take place in the organized sequence, and after that what happened? The development occur. However, the regeneration is not same as a reproduction, since most organisms would not normally depend on being cut up to be able to reproduce. So normal condition is in that organism is not automatically cut down, or it will broke down into the small pieces. Okay. Vegetative propagation. There are many plants in which parts like root, stem, leaves develop into new plants under appropriate conditions. So vegetative propagation, in that mainly two methods are the layering and the grafting. Okay, so we take the different part of the plant and from that the new plant is obtained, that is called the vegetative propagation. There are many plants in which the parts like root, stem, leaves develop in the new plant under the appropriate condition. This property of vegetative propagation is used in the methods such as layering or grafting to grow the many plants. So in the layering, what happens, the particular part of the plant is cut down and again it is planted in the soil, so we get the other plant and it has a more good properties than the plant with the root, original mother plant. Okay, grafting, in that what happen, suppose we have one plant is there and that plant is stem is cut and on that another plant is subjected, okay, or planted, another plant is planted or other stem is planted, then that is included in the grafting. This property of vegetative propagation is used in the methods such as layering or grafting to grow the many plants. Example, sugarcane, roses, grapes, for agriculture purposes. Plant raised by the vegetative propagation can bear the flowers, fruit earlier than those produced from the seed. Okay, so plant raised by the vegetative propagation can bear the flowers, fruit earlier than these produced from the seed. So normally we get the plants by the seed, but by the vegetative propagation, whatever we are getting vegetative propagation, by that what we are getting plant, it can bear the flowers, fruit earlier than the produce from the seed. Such method also make possible the propagation of plants such as the banana, orange, rose and jasmine that have lost the capacity to produce the seed. So some plants are there, they have not property or they have not capacity to produce seed, like we can say that banana, orange, rose, jasmine. Okay, so we can get a number of good plants by this grafting and layering method. Another advantage of vegetative propagation is that all plant produce are genetically similar enough to the parent plant to have all its characteristics. So in this one advantage is what here, we get the genetical similarity, and because of that ideal property we are getting from the plants, or we can say that ideal characteristics we get from the plant. Similarly, birds produce in the notches along the leaf margin of the brow phylum fall on the soil and develop into the new plant. Similarly, birds are there produce in the notches edge of the plant along the leaf margin of the brow phylum fall on the soil and develop into the new plants. Okay. Spore formation. Even in many multicellular organisms, specific reproductive part can be identified. The thread-like structure that develop on the bread are the hyphae of the bread mold, that is called rhizopus. They are not reproductive part. On the other hand, the tiny blob on the stick structure are involved in the reproduction. So we can see that here tiny blob on the stick structure are involved in the reproduction. Okay, and we can see the thread-like structure that develop on the bread are the hyphae of the bread mold, that is rhizopus. The blobs are sporangia, which contain cells or the spores that can eventually develop into the new rhizopus individual. These spores are covered by the thick walls that protect them until they come into contact with the another moist surface and can begin to grow. So these spores are covered by the thick walls of that protect them until they come into contact with the another moist surface and can begin to grow. So dear students, this is all about the asexual reproduction. Thank you so much.